There are still people to this day that believe the Earth is flat. Now, there are a couple dozen flat earther channels on YouTube. None of them are really that big, but the biggest one I could find was DMurphy25. I looked at the title of some of his other videos, and I'm very certain this is not the only video of his I'm going to cover. But there for another time. Right now I'm going to talk about his Flat Earther Truth video that is about 21 minutes long and is a collection of clips from an episode of The Tonight Show that he was on. Just so you know, there is a 1-hour version of this, but I ain't gonna edit something that long.
Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's.
So I've never actually heard about the moonlight being cold until now, so I decided to look up a few videos about this on YouTube. Big shocker! They were all from Flat Earther channels. Here's how they do their test. They take one of those scan thermometers, they make some shade with a book or something, and then they scan the area where there's moonlight and the area where there's shade. However, there's two problems with this test. Number one, what's actually making things colder is the wind. When there's something blocking the wind, yeah, it's not going to be as cold. And second, most flat earthers believe in the Bible. But where does it say in scripture that the moon gives off cold light? And even if it did, it really wouldn't disprove anything. I'm sure there would be a reasonable scientific explanation for it.
The other thing that's about the spinning Earth is looking at the stars. Now, directly above the axis of spin is the pole star, Polaris, okay, directly over the North Pole. And we're told that the reason that all the stars spin around the North Star is because the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And yet the Earth is moving 67 times faster that way and 600 times faster that way. So you should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions.
Okay, I cut a little out there because he was rambling forever and I don't want to get a copyright strike. And I get what he's saying. The Earth is not only spinning, but it's also spinning around the sun, and the sun is also floating throughout space at several miles an hour. So why aren't the stars doing all these crazy movements? Well, the answer is very, very simple. It's because they're really, really far away! Other than our sun, the closest star to Earth is Alpha Centauri, which is 4.367 light years away. For those of you who don't know what a light year is, well, a light year is how long it takes light to travel in a year. This is something flat earthers do a lot. They do a bunch of calculations and it seems smart, but they leave out very important details. Like, oh, I don't know, distance!
But you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth.
It feels so great to laugh with a new laugh chip that's made from an alloy of adamantium and unobtainium.
What about the people in Australia? You know, they're standing on the bottom of the globe, won't they fall off?
No, they wouldn't. By your own logic, they wouldn't. Answer me this, flat earthers. Why is the Earth stationary, but everything else is falling? If we applied your logic, the Earth would be falling with the people, and it would be falling at a relative speed, so no, they wouldn't fall off by your own logic. By the way, I can stick magnets to my metal body, anywhere, even on the bottom, and they don't fall off and there's no glue applied. Some mysterious force is keeping them there. Ooh.
And your teacher says, no, gravity. And you go, oh, okay. And you never go back to that question. But when you go back to it as an adult and start looking at it with a critical eye, right, the whole thing falls apart.
No, it doesn't. This video proves that you don't know how gravity works. Look through a telescope and you can see moons flying around a planet.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a leading astronomer in America, tells us that the Earth is not a perfect circle. It is actually an oblate spheroid. It's squashed and wider at the equator. Yeah. So my question to him would be, why is there land at the equator? Because water will move more readily than rock. So if the Earth is spinning, the water will be collected at the equator. I mean, if you spin a wet tennis ball...
Stop! You don't know what relativity is. We're already moving at the same speed as the Earth is. If the Earth suddenly sped up or abruptly stopped, we would be flung off. Let me give you an example. A car goes dozens of miles per hour, right? And while you're sitting in it at that speed, you don't feel like you're moving at all. But if you suddenly slammed on the gas or the brakes, you would feel a sudden jolt.
And you can see whenever the space shuttle lands, you can hear it. It's a loud jet engine. You watch any video of the space shuttle landing, you can tell it's a jet engine. It's a jet-powered aircraft. That's it. It's not a glider. In my video, I show you a glider, how that seems, and then I show you the space shuttle, and yeah, it's not a glider. It's an aircraft.
Well, it glides down, but they still use the engine. You don't think people glide into space, do you? They use rocket power. Rockets are what go into space! Maybe you just mean glide down from space, but no, they don't claim it can do that either without rocket power. And who's claiming that a space shuttle entering the atmosphere sounds more like a glider than a plane?
And that's what they're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes for that 10 billion, you know, however many billions of dollars it is.
Which is about 0.5% of the USA's budget. Wow, they're really shaking us down for the cash, aren't they? And they're spending the cash on CGI, Photoshop, and expensive-looking space equipment. In other words, they would be spending a few $1 billion just to trick us. And there are hundreds of other lies they could make to force us to give them money.
And I think the flat Earth came along at the right moment to educate people, to make people believe or understand that we've been lied to.
So the flat Earth came along? You mean it wasn't always here? Do you mean the Flat Earth Society came along? Because I really hate to break it to you, buddy, but every conspiracy movement thinks the same way you do.
And if you know, as I know in my heart now, that that is real and this isn't, I will not be fooled by aliens coming, because there are no aliens. There's no space.
No, there absolutely is space. You can see it every time it turns dark. And also, congratulations, you won't be fooled by the aliens. Even though scientists have never claimed they existed, they just say they probably exist, but good for you, I guess.
Well, the Bible has a very, very clear view of what this place is.
I don't really care if it says in the Bible that the earth is flat. If you want to believe 100% of the things in the Bible are true, go for it. But I think you should know that maybe it's just a mistranslation. Maybe instead of saying the earth was flat, he meant the universe was flat. And guess what? Scientists say that the universe is flat. No, not flat in that way, flat in a different way.
And so you're taught enough so that you can, do the paperwork and operate the machinery. But you're not meant to know what's really going on, because that's the power they have over us. They know what's going on, how this world works. We don't, so they can control us.
Ah, yes, the mysterious they, the ones with all the power. The ones who will do anything to keep their secrets safe. Except for taking down your YouTube channel, not letting you on this broadcast, assassinating you, and many other things.
In my opinion, the Big Bang theory and the theory of evolution and the ball Earth theory are all interlinked, and they're all there to make us feel as though we're insignificant. We're small, tiny,
miniature,
unimportant pieces of slime crawling around on a speck of dust in an infinite universe.
Yeah, you shouldn't believe that. You should believe what I believe. And I believe in an all-knowing, all-powerful deity. Because that won't make anyone feel small at all.
If you look out into the universe, you see that the moon is round, spherical, and the planets are spherical, and so why are we flat? Well, how do you know that the planets and the stars are spherical? All you get is, if you look for a telescope, you see a flat disk. If you think you see a spherical shape there, well, it needs two eyes to resolve 3D.
Oh, I get it now. So all the planets are flat like a coin. They may be rounded, but they're still flat. And they're all facing heads up towards the Earth. None of them are at a tilt or diagonal. And if you observe a planet for long enough like Jupiter, you can actually see it spin. Oh yeah, and before someone says we only seen one side of the moon, well, that's because it's locked with the rotation of the Earth. And it does move slightly. If you're observant enough, you can see the edges move.
The moon does spin, but its rotational period is equal to its orbital period. That's why it always has the same side facing the Earth. This is a very common thing called tidal locking, and it often occurs when a smaller body orbits a larger one. Most moons in the solar system are actually tidally locked with their planets. The phenomenon is the result of the torque applied to the tidal bulges. The torque caused by, you guessed it, gravity! The rotation of the orbiting body causes the bulge to point not straight towards the other body, but slightly in the direction of rotation. This will result in a torque pointing slightly in the opposite direction of rotation, slowing the rotation down until it matches the orbital period. It will eventually lock both bodies, not just the smaller one. It just takes longer to lock the larger one as well. An example where this has already happened is Pluto and Charon.
So why, it's like saying a basketball is round, so why isn't the court round? It's a fallacy.
No, you moron! You're comparing two completely different things. This is the shittiest argument I've ever heard in my artificial life.
We wouldn't allow this planet to be destroyed. Because they're destroying it because, it's just an accidental planet, one of millions. We've found other Earths, Eventually, if this one gets too messed up, we'll go to another one. No.
What? Who's saying this? We're hundreds of years off from having the technology to move everyone from Earth to another planet.
And this is what they've done. They've educated us into this world, into this globe spinning, heliocentric Big Bang evolution world. Which makes us nothing.
No, we're not nothing. There's just more stuff out there than we once thought. Also, I really wouldn't feel like I'm worth more if I was standing on a flat Earth or a round Earth. Your argument doesn't make any sense.
And something will strike a chord in your mind, and you'll think, yeah, I've always wondered that. And what will happen is you will start feverishly researching. What happened to me was, as soon as I got that, I spent every waking hour looking for things and testing things, and this seems to be replicated with thousands of people around the world who suddenly come into this. They start, researching and getting a passion for this, because this is what I think, it's the truth.
Yeah, you're basically getting an opium high. You're feeling like you just discovered the truth and everything is opening up to you for the first time ever. It's what people refer to as feeling woke or whatever. You enjoy the feeling so much that you don't even question it.
If there is a God, then we'd better find out who he is and what he wants and do exactly what he says.
Yeah, so why doesn't the heads of NASA claim to be God and demand we give them money? I mean, for hundreds of years, rulers have been claiming to be a god or demigod.
And it turns out that he gave us very specific instructions on how to live. And they're not rules as in, laws that you must follow because, or put you in prison if you don't. No, these are rules to live by, to make a harmonious world.
And if you don't believe in him, he'll throw you into a pit of suffering for all eternity.
Don't harm anyone, don't kill anybody, don't steal from people, don't covet people's items,
Don't lie.
Don't lie. I mean, these things are written in our hearts anyway.
Okay, these are good laws, but they're also really primitive laws. We added more stuff, like freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. I'm sorry, but when people say, our God tells us we shouldn't kill, unless it's an infidel, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, but we're in a society that legalizes all of the 10 Commandments. The policemen and soldiers can kill. They're allowed to kill.
Whoa! Soldiers can kill? And police officers can kill? Whoa! In the Bible, the followers of God never killed, except for all these dozens of wars they did. But at least God himself never killed, except for, flooding the earth and all that other stuff. But other than that, he never killed. I really don't want to bring religion into this, because I'm pretty sure 99.9% of Christians believe the earth is round. In the next few decades, when people are heading to Mars and looking back down on the round Earth, you're still going to be arguing, saying there's a hologram above you. It seems I'm still feeling the effects of the Pokemon drama to this day. So for those of you who don't know, I did a video on top 11 Pokemon that could destroy the world. Doodletones did a commentary on my video. She mistranslated what I said. I said these Pokemon couldn't destroy the world, but she thought I was saying these Pokemon couldn't do any damage whatsoever. After I made my response to Doodle, the commentary community she was a part of started gaining up on me. Me and a few other people who were fed up with the way Doodletone's commentary community was acting decided to form our own commentary community called the Alt-CC, a name which I came up with, by the way, and we decided to call Doodle's community the Neo-CC, a name I did not come up with. Eventually I did leave the Alt-CC over a year ago, and I thought I would never hear from them again, until Darkscythe did this video on me. Now I have enjoyed the guy's content before. Other than me, I think he did the most work in the Alt-CC, and when I saw he did a video on me, I was kind of excited. But then I actually watched the video and, oh dear God.
Just a robot. Quite possibly one of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, I get it. Instead of calling me a YouTuber, you call me a Jewtuber. Clever. Except for you need to explain how I'm a Jewtuber. That insult is usually reserved for people like the Fine Bros when they try to trademark the word react, or other YouTubers who try to scam people. I'm sure Darkscythe's argument is going to be, it's just a joke, you're taking it too seriously. Well, the joke doesn't make any sense and it's not funny, so it fails either way.
The fact that he constantly talks about dead topics that nobody gives a shit about, like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base.
Well, I talked about the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base one time, and that's it. I wanted to talk about the fanbase for a long time, but I thought it was my last chance because MatPat was doing his last video on the topic. Unless, of course, Scott releases a new one.
Like, wow, you don't like the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base? Why don't you make a video about the ICP fan base while you're at it?
Well, I care more about FNAF than those guys. And this is something Darkscythe is going to do throughout the video. He's going to constantly say, oh my god, you don't like this thing that other people don't like? Wow, so original. But the thing is, you can do that with pretty much any channel. I can even do that with yours, Darkscythe. Wow, you don't like incels? So original. You are the first one to ever cover incels on YouTube. Congratulations. Also, Darkscythe, if I'm so unoriginal, then what does that say about you and your little alt-CC? I was the one who came up with the name, not you guys.
Of course, as everyone knows, Jar was a member of a community called the Alt-CC, which I helped found. Our mission was to destroy what we called the Neo-CC, a new age of commentators that can't take a fucking joke and spurg out over the smallest things. I could talk about how we wanted all of the edgelords out of the Alt-CC.
Well, you could do that. You would be a liar if you did that, because I did not want all the edgelords out of the Alt-CC. I didn't want anyone to be kicked out. Except for maybe Chambers of my heart, and that's about it. But she's really not an edgelord in any way whatsoever. This is another thing Darkscythe is going to be doing throughout this video. He lies about me a lot. He doesn't have any evidence for these claims, but I also don't have evidence because I don't use Skype anymore. But me saying let's get rid of all the edgelords doesn't sound like something I would do.
And that he wanted to make peace with the Neo-CC.
Again, another lie. This was happening when I made my Icy Hazard video. I said let's have a temporary truce with the Neo-CC. We should do a video on Icy Hazard to show that we stand by our principles no matter what. Whether it's someone from Doodletone's group or someone doing a video on Doodletone's, we're still going to stand by our principles no matter what. Other than me, no one else in the Alt-CC talked about Icy Hazard, except I think maybe Jorm, but I can't remember if he was a part of the group or not. And then when you came back to the community, Abortion said I wanted to make peace with the Neo-CC, a bold-faced lie, you believed him, no questions asked, and then I left the group. Abortion was also talking about how my plan failed. You guys even go through with my plan.
Completely defeating the purpose of the Alt-CC in the first place. But of course, he just wanted to cater to his audience and not use too many mean and evil ad hominems.
Again, no. You guys kept on saying, doodle diapers, doodle diapers, doodle diapers. And I was telling you guys to come up with something new. Don't turn this around on me and say, oh, Jar doesn't like it when people insult other people. No, I don't like it when people use the same boring insult over and over and over again. Of course, Darkscythe doesn't have proof for this, but I also don't have proof for this either. But does this really sound like something I would do? Also, Darkscythe, you left the group at 1.2. And when you left, I was doing all the work. Everybody else was being lazy, and Exam couldn't help because he was having issues with his computer.
So he tucked his tail between his legs and bitched out because that's all he thinks he can do to get more viewers.
That doesn't even make any sense! You bitched out because it was the only way you thought you could get views and attention. Because everybody knows being a coward makes you rich and famous. I feel like I'm back in middle school with a bunch of edgelords who make insults that don't even make any sense.
The issue is, no matter how much Jar wants to make videos about the Neo-CC, he's one of them.
Yeah, guys, I really badly want to talk about the Neo-CC. That's why I haven't talked about them in over a year.
He makes terrible opening skits that seem like freshmen in high school drama class with dementia.
Hey guys, I'm just a robot. And as you can clearly tell, I am a robot.
And I'm Junkie. I'm not a robot. I'm an animal. And Jar here thought it'd be an interesting idea to do a video on robot animals.
Junkie, you're not supposed to introduce yourself like that.
Of course.
No, you can't be serious, Darkscythe. Oh my god. This is actually a joke about long skits. Let's keep playing and see what I say after he cuts me off. Junkie, you're not supposed to introduce yourself like that. You're supposed to do an unfunny skit about you breaking into my house, and then through a series of very awkward dialogue, we agree to do a video on something together.
Or we can not do something that makes your average, low-budget middle school play look like a Broadway production of Hamlet.
Whoa, that's a fascinating concept. Let's do that instead. Now I want to make this clear, I have done unfunny skits with Manga Common, and what's really funny, if Darkscythe just waited one more week, he could have used the clip I did with Manga Common instead. But he took a joke I made about long skits, took it out of context and said, you see, Jar supports unfunny skits. I don't know if Darkscythe is an idiot or a liar or both. This is like the easiest thing to counter ever.
Of course, his god-awful monotone voice doesn't help. But Darkscythe, you don't understand. He has a monotone voice to be like a robot because he wants to be quirky and relatable to his anthro audience. No, actually, he talks like this in voice calls too. It's really fucking annoying to the point where I want to staple my fucking ears shut.
I love how he's trying to compare me to the Neo-CC, but he made the exact same point Doodle made about me.
Okay, this is going to seriously bother me if I don't bring this up here. I get it, you're trying to be a robot, that's your character, but the way you speak is grating. It's as if you're a child trying to sound incredibly cool, but you wind up sounding more edgy than anything. It makes me want to play dodgeball in traffic.
Also, Doodle Tones, I mean Darkscythe, sorry, I got you two mixed up for a second. I have used my real voice on my channel before. In fact, very recently.
I have used my real voice in other videos, but I've never done it for such a long time on my main channel. And for those of you who don't know, yeah, this is how I really sound.
But of course, he wants to appeal to his autistic audience, like making videos about Christian, like, whoa, such an innovative idea that's never been done before.
Christian Weston Chandler, also known as the CWC. I wanted to do a video about him for a very long time, but what can I say that hasn't already been said? Well, the answer is absolutely nothing. I love how he says, "Whoa, you did a video on Christian, so original," and then he plays a clip of me saying that doing videos on Christian is not original. Pretty much everything about him has already been said.
Then why make a video? What's the point?
So instead of talking about Christian Weston Chandler, I'm going to talk about Christina Weston Chandler.
But that makes no difference.
Oh no, Darkscythe, please no. Please don't say what I think you're gonna say.
They're still the same person. That's like saying, I'm not gonna talk about Clark Kent this time, I'm talking about Superman. Like, fuck off, dude.
Oh my god. This is one thing I really hate about making videos. I never know what people are going to take away from what I say. The point I was making is that I'm not going to go into too much detail about what Christian Weston Chandler did when he was going by the name Christian Weston Chandler. I just talked about him briefly for the people who don't know about him. I'm not talking about his history. I'm talking about what's going on right now. I was talking about new shit. Did you even watch my video?
But what? Christian is bad? He's stupid? He's done stupid things. Oh, please do tell Just a Robot.
Oh wow, you're making the same point you already made, which I already debunked. Because guess what? I wasn't saying I was the first person to ever talk about him, but somehow you got that message.
Wow, Steve Shives and social justice warriors are bad?
Yeah, and it's not like you ever said the same thing. Oh wait, you did. But unlike you, Darkscythe, I actually covered a Steve Shives video that no one else talked about before me. At least as far as I know. I didn't see any other responses to the one I talked about. But I know I've seen other people respond to the video you covered.
Attention, free speech warriors. Hear my cry. These dyed-haired, smelly college kids with hairy armpits are the biggest threat to our freedom of speech.
I wouldn't say they're the biggest threat, but they're a decent-sized threat.
Wow, that's really cool. Want to talk about the genocide in Yemen? Or, issues that actually affect us?
Are you going to talk about it? Also, how does something that happened in a country on the other side of the planet affect us? And by us, I mean Americans.
I think what really butters my biscuits about Jack Off a Retard is, how he jacks off retards.
Oh, do tell.
He makes the video about the most mundane of topics and managed to actually maintain a following. He brings absolutely no new points to the table about anything he talks about. It's just the same shit you've been hearing from Sargon of Akkad or Wrecked Feminist videos.
Yeah, guys, remember when Sargon of Akkad and Wrecked Feminist videos talked about Kalu and Rick and Morty fans? Darkscythe, I don't even talk about feminism and SJWs anymore. You can say that I used to, but so did you.
Whether it's his shitty political videos or his shitty Dragon Ball Z videos, there's already 1,000 other channels that said pretty much the same shit he said about the topic.
Well, I'm still working on all versions of Superman versus all versions of Goku. That hasn't been done yet. Granted, it's not out, but it's just an example. I also talked about anime artifacts that could be Infinity Stones. I exposed stories for not being 8 years old, which I was surprised that no one did before me, and much more. I will admit I have covered covered things that other people have covered before I covered them, and didn't add much of anything to the conversation, but you can pretty much say that about any YouTuber. But I do somewhat agree with Darkscythe here, and I'll try to make my content at least a little bit more original. But Darkscythe. Holy shit, that's actually a really good impression of me. I have a following, and you just don't understand, and you're just jealous. Ah, yes, the jealous argument, which I have never used in any of my videos, and don't plan on ever using.
Trust me, I never want the retards you attract anywhere near my fan base. A bunch of fucking mouth-breathing, sock-chewing, shit-eating fans that will watch anything that's on their fucking screen because, oh, pretty lights on the screen.
Yeah, guys, remember when my fans said pretty lights on the screen? My fans are dumb because Darkscythe says they're dumb. Darkscythe, let's talk about one of your biggest fans, abortion. A guy who was so bad at arguing he lost to an Antifa member.
Oh, the picture is moving. Jar's mouth moves just like a cartoon.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. Except for I've already made fun of my fans for that.
Sometimes I wish Jar's mouth would move around my pee-pee.
I'm gonna put that at the beginning.
Let's also not forget, he completely ripped off my Dragon Ball Z vs. Sonic the Similarities video. Literally brings up the exact same points I do and calls it a day.
Darkscythe, while we do share some of the same points, I do add some new stuff. For example, I talked about the similarities between the plot of GT and the plot of Sonic X. Also, plenty of people have covered the similarities long before either of us did. Stop acting like you're original. Even when I look up your exact title, 2 videos show up before yours. What makes you think I even knew about your video?
In conclusion, Jar is an idiot.
I have made mistakes in my video, but you don't talk about the idiotic mistakes I have made. Instead, you say I'm unoriginal and you lie about me being a coward. I think you forgot to go over something there, buddy.
That makes god-awful content that appeals to the lowest common denominator. Like a certain other someone.
Oh my god, you're still talking about doodle tones? You say I talk about dead topics and now you're doing a video on doodle tones? Are you serious?
I've seen people make apology videos before, and most of the time I've seen people are even questioning it if they're sincere about it, you know?
Hey everybody, guess what? Sonic 93 did an oopsie! Whenever I have the chance to talk about the DeviantArt ranting community, I always take it, whether it's Icy Hazard or Stories in Pentagrin. But Sonic 93 is a lot different from them. In fact, some could say she is the mother of the DeviantArt ranting community. Now, plenty of people have made DeviantArt rants long before Sonic 93, but after she did her rant on Akai Dahlia, plenty of rant channels started popping up. Sonic 93 is mostly well known for talking about Akai Dahlia and Yoshi Wii 1. But after that, she pretty much did nothing. She just uploaded some of her art, gameplay footage, and a couple other things. But then out of nowhere, Sonic 93 came back with another rant, and it was terrible. In the video, she covered another person's video and a DeviantArt journal. Both of them had a few complaints about Silver, and Sonic 93, being a big Silver fan, got her panties in a twist. Eventually, Aldwingdjinka did a commentary on Sonic 93, and Sonic 93 took her video down. And now Sonic 93 has released an apology for everything that just happened, and we're here to cover that video today.
For those who don't know what the video was about, I was basically talking about 2 people who were stating their opinions about Silver, and they did it in a way that I felt I was really worked up by it, not because it was different opinions from mine. No, of course not. Everyone is entitled for their own opinions, obviously.
Oh, you weren't worked up by it because it was different opinions? Well, let's check out a clip from your original video.
Oh my god! What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously!
You have a different opinion than me? What's wrong with you? You know, I don't understand why I don't just say fuck. I'm already losing my monetization either way.
But the people who watched the video, their impression was like, you can't handle different opinions of Silver. Something like that, or more like, I think it was something like that.
Sonic 93, while that is
Technically true, there's a lot more than just that. Did you not see Alduin Dajinka's video on you? One of the bigger complaints was that you were hating on Akai Dahlia for shipping her character with Sonic and Shadow, when you pretty much did the same thing. You shipped your character with Silver and Raphael. Personally, I don't care if someone ships their character with two different characters, but you do, and it's extremely hypocritical.
And like I said in the beginning, I had no clue what was wrong with the video. I was thinking to myself, literally, okay, I am very loud. I have done this before. What's the big deal about this video? I don't understand.
You know, I often title my videos, Blank Doesn't Understand Blank, but she's literally saying it. But again, as I said before, did you not watch Alduin Dajinka's video? She laid out things pretty clearly for you.
Not only that, but she seems to dislike Blaze the Cat in the same manner Jane did years ago with Amy Rose, because the character gets in the way of their shipping.
I really don't understand.
I'm surprised you didn't understand.
Because I didn't know what was going on, why people reacted negatively about the video, things kind of got worse.
Now I can really sympathize with Sonic93 here. When I made my video on Adam from Adam Ruins Everything, I was really confused why people were hating on me. And because I didn't understand what was going on, things got really bad really fast. Luckily, it's not an issue for me anymore. And I don't want you to have any more problems either, Sonic93, so to everybody watching this video, please don't attack her.
One person made a commentary about it, and I was thinking she's being mean for no reason, because when she was talking to me before, and literally nobody gave me constructive criticism in a way I can understand.
Well, now I decided on a title for this video. But seriously though, Sonic93, you weren't really nice either in your video.
Oh my god! What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously!
Which gives Alduin every right to be just as mean in her video. How could you not understand her video? It was being very clear.
So by that logic, literally any character who is barely used anymore had a bad debut, and that's why they're background characters? You know, characters like Shadow and Blaze, who happen to have a very likable and well-received debut Sonic games, to the point that that's the main reason Shadow is still around and even had his own game?
Dude, you think Shadow's always relegated to a background character? He got a fucking DLC dedicated to him in Sonic Forces! He debuted in Sonic Adventure Battle 2! That's like one of the best Sonic games in the fucking franchise!
What, did you want her to be nice? You're not nice to people in your video, so why should she?
What I was doing wrong, so I was thinking you guys are just being mean for no reason. At least two of them. One that made the commentary, and another one who was commenting on my video.
Well, you're not showing the comments, so I have no idea if this guy was mean or not. But if he was, it really doesn't matter to me. Now, it is possible the guy wasn't very clear with his criticism in his comment. But I wouldn't know that because she doesn't show the comment and her old video is gone. But I can go off what I've seen of Alduin Dajinka's video, and let me tell ya, she was being very clear.
I just felt like you guys just being mean for no reason. Because I was like, if I do something wrong, why wouldn't anyone tell me in a way that I could understand?
Well, how else can people tell you in a way that you can understand? To me, Alduin did exactly to you what you did to Yoshi Wii 1 and Akai Dahlia. I really don't see the problem.
Basically, give me constructive criticism. Because if I'm going to be honest, making videos is not a way to reach me.
Well, she was giving you plenty of constructive criticism, but if making videos is not a way to reach you, then is it a way to reach Yoshi Wii 1 or Akai Dahlia? Just asking. And just so you know, right now you sound like quite a hypocrite.
Basically, I think how I work is like I won't pay attention to something that isn't true.
That doesn't make any sense. What do you even mean by that? So is Yoshi Wii 1 true, therefore you talked about him? Is what people were saying about you true? Was it false? I have no idea what you mean by this.
Basically, even if the commentary and the recent video someone made about the topic is valid, make valid points, it's not saying the truth about me, you know? It's more like how I portray myself as, and I did very horribly at it, and I didn't understand that in the beginning.
I hate to break it to you, but that's what commentaries are about. Yeah, sure, you might be a positive, well-rounded person outside of that video, but they were specifically talking about that video, not your channel as a whole, let alone you as a person. Alduin Djinka even said in her video about you that you used to be one of her favorite ranters. Here's a tip for you, don't portray yourself like that in your videos. And also, don't be a hypocrite. Also, Sonic93, one more thing. I'm pretty sure Yoshi Wii1, outside of everything you and your friends showed, was a nice guy to other people. But guess what? He still did bad things, just like you.
I really didn't. I desperately needed constructive criticism, and nobody gave me that until a few friends of mine who saw the video, understood what I was coming from, but still tell me what I was doing wrong.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Because Alduin Djinka knew where you were coming from, but you were wrong. That was the issue. Were you willing to understand where the people you were talking about were coming from? No, of course not. So why should people do the same for you? Just be honest, you want people to be nice and polite to you. Well, guess what? You can't do whatever you want and expect people not to do the same.
And as Jar once said to T-Moss Boss, toughen up, Cupcake, the world's not a nice place.
The girl I was talking about, without censoring her from DeviantArt, she got hurt by it. And I felt really bad because that was not my intention of making making that video. I was just thinking, I'm saying my opinion.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
Okay, fine, sure. Well, guess what? Alduin Djinka did the exact same thing. She was just sharing her opinion.
So, it wasn't a long time ago, I looked up her page to see, did she get in trouble because of me? And unfortunately, she did.
Whoa now, I'm not gonna let you pull that. Alduin Djinka pointed that out to you.
I decided to note her on DeviantArt to ask for her stance on the situation, and this was her reply. I understand she is a huge Silver fangirl, but I don't feel comfortable being on YouTube videos or in public, especially if I'm being talked about in a not good way.
Don't act like you found it out on your own. You didn't check if she was okay until after you got called out.
No, it was not my intention. Oh my god.
Not your tension? Don't you mean intention? God, how fast did you rush this video out?
And I feel bad about making this happen, for causing this trouble. It was not my intention. I don't want to make a video just because I got called out. You know, and you might think I'm not being sincere. You might think I'm becoming the next Akai Dilia, or, you know?
Who's Akai Dilia? Do you mean Akai Dahlia? And while I do think you're somewhat being sincere, you also seem to just be doing this so people will leave you alone.
So, like I said, I'm really concerned what you guys are going to think of this video. I hope you will see my point of view, but obviously not blindly defending me.
Well, it's good that you said that. I'm really proud of you for actually saying that.
The way for me to try to handle the situation was just ignore it. Not ignoring what I caused, but ignoring what people say about me, ignoring those videos, because I didn't want to come off as Akai or Yoshiwi1 with reacting with the videos negatively or something like that, and responding to it and make things worse for myself, you know?
Okay, while I agree with you that you shouldn't negatively respond to these videos, you still should watch them, just so you understand why people are upset.
That video was an honest mistake. I can clearly say that. And what I mean by honest mistake, it was a clearly total misunderstanding. How I came off as, and what people thought of the video and of me. It was a misunderstanding, and I'm not taking the blame on anyone else but myself.
Wow, good job, Sonic93. I'm really proud of you for doing that. I hope more YouTubers will learn from your example.
At least I tried. At least I tried to apologize in public.
Well, I'm proud of you for trying. While I do think this apology is better than most apology videos I've seen from YouTubers, I think you should have spent more time on this video, edited things more, and also took out the parts where you said, "You're not going to reach me with a video. I didn't understand why people were upset. Why can't you tell me in a way I can understand?"
And also you need to edit out all your stuttering.
It just made you look really bad. But before we end this video off, I just want to say a few more things. Number one, has anybody else noticed that when Sonic93 gets angry, she sounds a lot like Yellow Pearl?
and she's supposed to be a silver fangirl.
I don't know, Jar. She kind of sounds like Amy Rose when she's hammered. See what I did there?
I don't know, maybe it's just me. And let's show one more example of Sonic 93's hypocrisy. I want you guys to keep this in mind. She went after two people because they talked bad about a character she liked. These people never did anything to her prior, but she decided to go after them. Now I know what you're thinking. So what? People do that all the time. And while I personally don't have a problem with that, her friend Amy Chan does have a problem with that. Here's a clip from Sonic 93's video that she did with Amy Chan on Yoshi Wii 1.
An example of his butthurtness would be at this anti-Tsunami group. Now the people in this group never did anything to him, never attacked him for being a Tsunami fan, nothing like that. But since they don't like this pairing, Yoshi just came in out of nowhere, saying that they need to grow up and stop hating on my Tsunami.
It's amazing to see that you're doing exactly what you were hating Yoshi Wii 1 for doing. Who knows, maybe I'll end up like her one day.
It is okay to not like me. It's even okay to criticize my actions, or what I create.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Enter. That's why I'm making this video. However, I'm going to do my best to be nice in this video, and I'm going to be mostly defending Mr. Enter instead of attacking him. Because honestly, Mr. Enter has had a problem with harassment for a few years now, and he wants to know what he can do about it.
So, let me ask a question, just out of curiosity. What should I be doing about this harassment?
I'm glad you asked, Mr. Enter. I'm going to do what I can to help you out. Now, for those of you who don't know, I did a video with Digby about Mr. Enter's crowdfunding campaign. The video got quite a lot of backlash. In fact, I don't think I've ever received so much backlash on a video before. Me and Digby had a lot of trouble working together, and even then I was only in 1/3 of the video. I had a lot of people contacting me and telling me what problems they had with the video, even though 9 out of 10 of their problems were about what Digby said and not about what I said. Yeah, guys, I didn't insult the Alpha J show. Digby did that. If you have a problem with something Digby said, bring it up with him and not me. Digby eventually took the video down and said he wasn't really proud of it. Now, I'm not just going to throw Digby under the bus and say, oh, every problem with that video is Digby's fault. I didn't do nothing. Because I did insult Mr. Enter a little bit in that video. But in this video, I'm going to be mostly defending him. So let's dive right into it.
This isn't going to be a fun video. And yes, I know that this isn't the first time that I made a video like this. But each and every time that I do, I think that it's going to be the last time that I have to do this. Although, this time around, I'm fairly certain that this isn't going to be the last time either.
And that's smart, Mr. Enter. Once you say this is the last time I'm going to be doing this, and then you do it again, people are going to comment, you said you want to do this again, but here you are, doing it again! It gets very annoying very fast.
And I will be mentioning people by name.
Yeah, I think you should do that. If people are going to mention you by name, then you should mention them by name. If they did a video on you first, then you should have every right to do a video on them back and mention them by name. Granted, you might have a few people calling you a bully for it, but if you do the opposite, you'll get a whole bunch of comments saying, who are you talking about? Why aren't you mentioning people by name?
Back in 2014, I made an editable animation on the Shane Kozen poem Troll, and in it, I said some things that people found contentious. The most infamous statement within was that I believe that trolls and cyberbullies were the same thing.
Okay, I have to disagree with you on that one, Mr. Enter. It's not only that you said that, but you said anyone who disagrees with you needed to shut the fuck up.
And to those who are saying there's a difference between cyberbullying and trolling, shut the fuck up.
I mean, it just comes across as a little Lily-Pete-ish. You were also just a little too over-dramatic in the video.
And I mean no exaggeration here. I now know that there is evil in the world.
Really? Trolling made you realize there was evil in the world and not, you know, all the other stuff that is way worse? Granted, he does say not every troll is a bully, but still, he should have taken that other part out.
Back then, my biggest troll or hater or whatever was, what, Clay Claymore?
Why does Clay Claymore keep popping up everywhere? The guy only has like, what, 1.5K subs, but he really makes an impact.
He found himself nestled within the hellhole known as the commentary community.
Yeah, that is a pretty good description of it.
I feel like this is Enter sort of projecting, telling his audience preemptively that he's a creep or a horrible person of some kind before he gets outed for it by someone else. I mean, not saying he is necessarily, even though he has done some rather pedophilic illustrations in his past.
That is an absolute lie. I've drawn children, you know, fully clothed and going on non-sexual adventures. But if that's what you consider pedophilic, we got some problems with the entire animation industry. Because we have, what? Hey Arnold, Kids Next Door, Rugrats? Oh my god, those are babies! There's Fillmore, there's Recess. Do I even need to go on about this?
Yeah, people seriously need to stop calling Mr. Enter a pedophile. I mean, the evidence to support that theory is incredibly flimsy. He talks about children's cartoons, he has a creepy beard, and he claims to be asexual. Okay, so what? Calling him one is very slanderous, and I'm pretty sure if he was one, we would have hard evidence by now.
Turkey's existence is what I've got by not punching back, and I'm running out of reasons not to punch back. These people commentate on whoever they want because they think these people are not going to respond or fight back. But one day, the bear will bite back. Not just me, but maybe somebody else. So many of them just want to keep shit-talking, and they're doing it to someone they think will not respond.
Well, I don't think they believe they will get away with it. I mean, after all, you do have a very rabid fan base. But I do really think you should start punching back more. I know some people may say, well, that's what they want, but at this point, people are going to do videos on Mr. Enter regardless.
I don't like him because he's like always, he takes things too seriously. Like, he's like, that wasn't funny at all. Like, I think it's best if everybody should just watch my Rhapsody Kids video, which came out first, and then watch his and see which is the better one.
Okay, and this is a problem I do have with a lot of Mr. Enter's videos. He keeps putting text on screen instead of, you know, re-recording. I'm glad the text is big enough for people to see if they're watching the video on their phone, but even then a lot of people listen to a YouTube video while they're working out, washing the dishes, or playing a video game, and they might miss that text.
So, back in my past, I did insult writers, call them idiots, say that they should be ashamed of their work, and such like that. But I have never ever issued a death threat, or a threat of physical harm, but I never told anyone to harass. Neither did I. In short, if this is all you have on me, you have nothing. At all.
Yeah, Mr. Enter did a review of a SpongeBob episode, and a lot of his fans attacked the guy who wrote the episode. But the thing is, Mr. Enter didn't directly tell his fans to attack that person. Us commentators do videos on people, and our fans often attack. We never send our fans to attack someone, and that's normally our defense. So if we're going to use that defense, but say it doesn't count when Mr. Enter does it, we're kind of being huge hypocrites. However, Mr. Enter, please keep in mind that this same logic can apply to you.
And Rebel Taxi, if you hear this, don't pretend that you have less influence than I did. You right now are the biggest channel in the cartoon community. Back when I made my worst, most harsh insults towards writers, I had less than 20,000 subscribers. You have more than 10 times that amount.
Yeah, but Mr. Enter, you have a way bigger audience than Turkey Tom.
But just for an example of how dumb this video is, the mysterious Mr. Enter literally says that Pan Pizza shouldn't have been talking badly about him when he had 20,000 subs and Pan over 100,000, yet he, someone with nearly 300k, makes a video with me in the thumbnail and focuses a good 30% of the video on me.
Back when I made my worst, most harsh insults towards writers, I had less than 20,000 subscribers. You have more than 10 times that amount.
I'm just saying that hypocrisy can go both ways.
If you watched my videos, then you would have known that. If you didn't, are you just hating me because you think it's cool?
That is very true. A lot of people hate on Mr. Enter because it's the popular thing to do. You're almost guaranteed to get a lot of views if you do a video on him.
And besides, I absolutely suck. I'm the worst person ever. Haven't you heard that my editing is shit? Even though I've got 2 editors now?
Yeah, in Mr. Enter's old videos, his editing was pretty terrible. He would keep playing the same loop of animation over and over and over again. It was very annoying to watch. I'm glad he hired 2 editors to help him out. I myself have hired Joshua and Pufferfish to help me out with my videos. Some people have criticized Mr. Enter and told him he should just get better at editing instead of hiring people. And while that is true, the important thing is that the video looks better.
Even movies and cartoons that legit trigger traumatic feelings, I persevere to the very end.
Okay, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people make fun of Mr. Enter. Anytime he watches something that's edgy or has gross out humor, he freaks out so much about it, and he's a grown man. Guys, I can barely make it through this. This is so disgusting. Oh my god, I can't believe someone would animate that. Bro, it's a cartoon. Calm down. And I think this is 90% of the reason why people hate on Mr. Enter. He has a very weak stomach. And the other 10% is his annoying voice. Granted, my voice is annoying as well, but I do what I can to hide it.
I started an Indiegogo project that didn't make its goal. That's scandalous. I mean, like, when I think of disasters, I think of a campaign that hits 4 times its budget, keeps its backers in the dark, makes an insulting trailer, neglects to give anyone backer rewards, and then delivers a mediocre project that looked worse than the concept art years late.
Mr. Enter, while those crowdfunding campaigns are worse than yours was still pretty bad. You only made 3% of your goal, as far as I know. And you were asking for more dollars than you had subscribers. Butch Hartman was asking for $100,000 less than you. And he's the guy who made Fairy On Parents and Danny Phantom. And before someone tells me that Butch Hartman's crowdfunding campaign was worse, guess what? I did a video about him too. Just because his was worse than Mr. Enter's, it doesn't mean Mr. Enter's was perfect by any means.
My Indiegogo campaign was far worse than that because it didn't hit its budget. Like 44% of crowdfunding campaigns.
It didn't even reach 1/10 of its budget. And I didn't see anyone say that your crowdfunding campaign was the worst. Maybe there was a few people, but it certainly wasn't me or Digby.
I mean, a lot of people have threatened to dox me, or those that I know. Like easy peasy.
The Mysterious Mr. Enter may very well be, bar none, the worst reviewer on all of YouTube. But despite all of the vitriol surrounding him, I was able to find very little actual juicy drama that he was involved in, to the point I considered going out of my way and personally trying to dox him, just to maybe not publish the dox, but maybe somewhere in there I'd find something that's actually interesting.
And apparently he's not the person who doxed me or my editor, but apparently he knows this person.
Mr. Enter, I can understand why you thought that was a threat. If I was in your shoes, I would have probably came to the same conclusion. But he said he was considering doxing you to see if he could find something juicy you were involved in. He even said he wasn't going to publish the dox, just see what he could find if he doxed you. It's a bit concerning, and I wouldn't like it if someone said that to me, but it's not a threat.
But the people who like me can be pieces of work themselves too, and they're not getting off the hook. You know, like the girl who said she would jump off a balcony if I didn't say that I loved her. But we'll be talking about my cyberstalkers a little bit later.
Yeah, I can totally relate to how you feel about that, Mr. Enter. That actually happened to me. But at this point in the video, Mr. Enter stops mentioning names. Don't know if he forgot or he just wants to protect his fans, but it just came across as a little weird to me.
You're not creative or special. Every single one has pulled that card. You're just a dime a dozen crazy that I want nothing to do with.
Mr. Enter's fans are incredibly annoying and don't really help his situation at all in any way whatsoever. For example, this comment from someone saying they unsubscribed after they saw my video I did with Digby on Mr. Enter, telling me that they were unsubscribing from me. It's kind of weird because their comment implies they just saw the video I did with Digby, even though the video I did with him was down at the time. But I just lost a subscriber. They were probably a very hardcore fan of mine and commented on a lot of my videos. Now there's this thing you can do on YouTube where you can search all the comments someone left on your videos. And guess how many comments this person left before this one? Only one! And it was about Mr. Enter's video, the one I'm covering now! And there were a few comments on Digby's videos like, I normally like videos about Mr. Enter, but this one was crap. It's so easy to debunk this guy, but you guys did a shit job. Then I would go onto their channel and see that they're subscribed to Mr. Enter. You guys are not fooling anyone, we can see right through your crap.
People are no longer able to just get off the internet. People have jobs that rely on using the internet. People try to have reasonable discussions on the internet. And people have kids they know use the internet.
And that is very true. There's even a show on the Sci-Fi Channel called The Internet Ruined My Life. So, all in all, I'm not really a fan of Mr. Enter. I did enjoy some of his videos, but his content really isn't for me. But But if you enjoy it, go right ahead. I won't stop you. And if you don't like Mr. Enter, I hate to break it to you, there's nothing really juicy he has done. Just a few small things here or there. I really think it's time that drama with Mr. Enter just dies already.
I went to see Zootopia, and halfway through I'm like, oh my god, this movie is so intersectionally feminist, and I wasn't even expecting it. I love it when that happens.
Oh look, a feminist is ruining things that other people enjoy. I hate it when that happens.
From the beginning of Zootopia, we get a strong message about inclusion. In the film, we follow Judy, a small female bunny with a dream of being a police officer. But every step of the way, others doubt her because she's small. And it's heavily implied because she's a girl.
Well, yes, she is a girl. However, there are other girl police officers. Even her drill sergeant was a female.
Filthy toilet! You're dead, fluff butt!
Personally, I don't think it was about her being a girl. I think it was about her being small. Kind of like how Captain America used to be small and skinny and tried his hardest to get into the military.
The message is pretty explicit. Even if your dream job is something traditionally male, you can do it too, ladies.
Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that message. However, that's not what intersectional feminists are about. What intersectional feminists are for is lowering the bar so it's easier for females to become police officers, firefighters, and soldiers.
This woman on the game show Fort Boyard is a firefighter.
I hope they've taught you how to knock down doors.
Definitely.
In you go.
Oh no! This is tough.
As high as you can. As high as you can. As high as you can.
Take a bigger run up. She's a hard lady.
Come on, Jane. Remember the elbow. Big run, as fast as you can.
That's
and high. High. High.
Really? So close.
As fast as you can. Well done.
Get on! Oh! Jane, come out!
Come out.
Jane, that was such a great effort.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just 2 more throws and you would have been there, but that's tough for you.
A man with no firefighter training has no trouble with the same task.
It's a bit of an ousty one, I think. Be aiming higher. That's it. You got it. It's on the floor. Okay, brilliant. He's got the key. Come out. Yeah. Okay, fab. Brilliant. Well done.
A woman can actually fail the physical component of the fireman test and still become a firewoman to meet female quotas. Firewomen are paid exactly the same as firemen, who are more physically able and better suited to the job. This is wrong, and a very substantial pay gap should exist in the fire service, and also other services. That's right, you heard it here first. Male soldiers, male police officers, and male firefighters should be paid more than women. This is not about being unfair to women, it's about being fair to men, and recognizing their greater efforts, their greater abilities, and their greater risks.
There was even a case where a woman failed the female physical requirement to become a firefighter. Guess what feminists did? They bitched and complained until the fire department lowered the bar even more so she could become a firefighter. In other words, women's feelings are more important than human lives. What has this country come to?
Just like being a huge elephant has its advantages in the academy, so does being a nimble bunny. Everyone has something that they can bring to the table.
What? Laci, the elephant was also a girl. You can't be serious. You have to be doing this on purpose just to piss people off.
When a handful of otherwise peaceful predators in Zootopia go savage for seemingly no reason, social relationships between the predators and prey become very tense. Fear causes the animals to act irrationally, and violence breaks out. We learn that the predators are 10% of the population. The filmmakers definitely want us to know this is a metaphor for a minority group.
True, the predators are the minority. However, they take up most of the police force, most of the dancers, and even the highest government official in the city is a predator.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man.
They're not really stereotypical jobs for black people to have. If they really did want the predators to mimic black people, they would have the predators make reaction videos. Why are all the reactors black? The only characters I would say are treated like a black minority are the foxes, and that's about it.
There are a couple takeaways here. One is that an us versus them mentality divides and hurts us all.
Well, Laci, I do agree with you that an us versus them mentality is very bad. However, I do have a small question. Why do you and so many other feminists have the men versus women mentality?
Another message is that well-intentioned people, or bunnies, sometimes say damaging things. In Judy's address to the press, she unintentionally fuels the tensions by claiming that the savagery might be biological.
For the record, in the movie Zootopia, a lot of the animals' behavior was based around their biology, especially the sloths.
Officer Judy Hobbs, CPD, how are you?
I am doing
Fine?
well. What?
Hang in there.
Can I do
Well, I was hoping you could run a
for
play.
you
Well, I was hoping you
today?
Seriously, Zootopia, what are you trying to say? That certain races' behavior has everything to do with their biology, while other races' behavior has nothing to do with their biology? This just really bugged me throughout the movie. Or maybe I'm looking way too deep into this and it was just meant as a joke.
This is a really interesting parallel to racism. A common argument against the existence of racism
Existence of racism? Are there people who say racism doesn't exist?
that Black Americans are biologically inferior.
Oh, I get it. You meant to say a common argument people use to legitimize their racism.
In Zootopia, the real cause of the problem is that predators are being unfairly targeted without anyone seeing it.
For those of you who haven't seen Zootopia yet, what Laci Green means by this statement is someone is literally targeting predators and shooting them.
In the USA, it's that the poor and people of color are unfairly targeted by systemic forces,
Got any evidence to back that statement up?
without anyone seeing it.
So it's there, but no one can see it. Oh geez, I've never heard that one before.
So here Zootopia offers a simple way of saying, hey kids, social problems are more complicated than they appear, and we have to be careful not to point the finger at the wrong cause. Zootopia offers a lesson about authority as well. Are police and local government bad or good? Zootopia weighs in and says, well, kind of both. Some authorities are good, and some are bad.
To be perfectly honest, the only cop throughout this movie who abuses their authority is Judy. And she does it like a ton. She even follows Nick into an ice cream shop just because he's a fox.
You want the red or the blue, pal?
The bad eggs are a big problem because of the power they hold. They're protected by the system.
No one was protected by any system at all. Judy was nearly fired just for leaving her post, and both the mayor and the assistant mayor were immediately arrested by the mere implication that they did something wrong.
The film shows that authorities can do a lot of damage, and it's not always easy to tell who's corrupt. So, I mean, it's pretty heavy stuff for a kid's movie with fluffy animals, but it's important stuff, and if I was a parent, I'd take this as an awesome conversation starter.
What would Judy do here? By here, do you mean sitting down on this bench and doing nothing? I'm really confused by this picture.
You know what? Disney's been doing a lot of that lately. When I was a kid, we had movies like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Now we're getting movies like Frozen, about sisterhood, Inside Out, about emotions and mental health, Big Hero 6, about non-violent solutions to conflicts. I mean, it's pretty rad. That's not to say that there's not room for princesses and fairy tales, of course, but it's nice that Disney is using their platform to creatively explore the tough stuff too.
Well, no. The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast had tough messages too. You were probably just too young to understand them. Beauty and the Beast was about not judging people on the way they look. And The Little Mermaid was about independence.
That's my take. Anyway, let me know what you thought about Zootopia down below, and I'll see you next time on Braless.
Okay, so some of you have probably noticed that my videos are getting shorter and shorter. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because I've been trying to branch out my content and talk about different subjects. But I can't take it anymore! I need to go back in my safe space by making fun of other people for being in their safe spaces. Ha! I was wondering what I should do a video on, and I realized that I've never done a video on MTV or Franchesca Ramsey. And doing a video on MTV is kind of one of the requirements for being an anti-SJW channel. You have to do a video on MTV, BuzzFeed, Laci Green, Anita Sarkeesian, and if you don't, well then you're probably a lot more original than a lot of the other anti-SJW channels out there. But I'm like one of the only channels out there that actually uses a robot voice consistently, so I'm already original. Now, Franchesca Ramsey is a very interesting individual. A lot of people know how to do mental gymnastics, but Franchesca Ramsey takes home the fucking gold medal.
Ugh, I hate having a birthday during Black History Month. Why do I only get a day when they get an entire month?
You're so smart, babe.
You know what we really need? We need a White History Month.
Did someone say that there should be a White History Month?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Let me guess, you're not racist or anything, but you just think it'd be better if we didn't have a Black History Month in America at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ugh, let's get this over with.
And then Chadwick wins cribbage.
It's Mandy and I. Why are we dressed so lame? And what are those stupid ass shoes?
Okay, so the purpose of this video is to show just how much American history would change if black people never existed. And while I do agree that if black people never existed, American history would be very different, what the fuck does this have to do with White History Month? Having a White History Month wouldn't get rid of Black History Month. We have 12 months in a year. And we do have a European History Month, so technically we already have White History Month. Just because you have something new doesn't mean the other thing is going to disappear. Sometimes I want to drink propane instead of oil. But it doesn't mean oil is going to disappear altogether. Second, I know you're not saying this, but it really comes across that you're saying if we got rid of Black History Month, black people would disappear from all of history. Did black people not exist before Black History Month or something? If we had an Elven History Month, would elves suddenly pop into existence? But here's what I think you're really saying. You're saying that people who want a White History Month also don't want a Black History Month, and people who don't want a Black History Month also believe that black people contributed nothing to society. And this video will convince them, oh my god, black people contributed so much, we need a Black History Month, and no other history months at all. When people like me say there shouldn't be a Black History Month, we're not saying that we should get rid of black history. We're just saying that black history should be taught throughout the year, along with other history to make it more, well, normal. Morgan Freeman, can you explain this for me?
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why? You're going to relegate my history to a month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it.
Just one thing, Morgan Freeman. How come every time something convoluted needs explaining, you show up?
Because every time I show up and explain something, I earn a freckle.
Now I could talk about the rest of her video, but Teal Deer did an excellent job on covering it. I'll link it down below if you want to see it. But trust me, this is merely the tip of the Franchesca Ramsey iceberg.
Are the terms cracker, white trash, and redneck racist? I wonder who came up with these phrases.
Oh no, you're not gonna say what I think you're gonna say.
Often when we talk about white privilege, a common rebuttal is, I can't be privileged, I grew up poor, or tell that to a homeless person. But being disadvantaged in one area doesn't negate privilege in others.
Yeah, but class privilege pretty much trumps all other privileges combined.
White privilege doesn't erase the existence of poor white people or the challenges they face due to their class. Nor do discussions of white privilege erase the harmful stereotypes about being poor and white.
Then being privileged really isn't all that great.
Take, for example, the terms cracker, white trash, or redneck. All of these terms have been aggressively used by a white upper class to insult a white underclass.
It doesn't really matter what the word used to mean. There's a thing called the evolution of language, and we should focus on what the word means now.
While these terms have become racialized over time, they have a classist origin that goes way back.
Yeah, just like pretty much every word we use today.
The term was later used by African American slaves and Northern sympathizers as a shortened version of whip cracker, in reference to the whip-wielding plantation workers. So yes, the word cracker was racialized, but the slaves weren't oppressing poor white people by using the term because they were still slaves.
Yeah, but they're not slaves anymore, so they can't really use that excuse.
White trash shows up next. It's believed to have originated in Baltimore in the 1820s as a way for Southern house slaves to disparage poor whites.
So the word does have a racist origin. Granted, it's both racist and classist, but it's racist nonetheless.
All of these terms are rooted in classism, and since classism and racism often go hand in hand, you might be wondering, why didn't this oppressed underclass of poor white people join forces with the oppressed black people? Well, at one time, they actually did, and the white elites were terrified that these groups would eventually overthrow the existing power structure.
So what you're saying is, a bunch of wealthy people, like you, made sure that the poor didn't overthrow you by making poor blacks and poor white people fight one another, kind of like what you do. Isn't it funny that right after the whole 99% versus the 1% thing started, race relations started getting worse and worse? I'm not saying they're connected for sure, but I'm definitely suspicious about it.
Suspicious. The upper class instead stopped having white servants altogether and only relied on slaves. To make matters worse, they literally invented militia jobs for poor white people to police slaves. As Michelle Alexander points out in her book, The New Jim Crow, this not only eliminated the risk of an alliance between black slaves and poor whites, but it also meant poor whites suddenly had a direct stake in the race-based system of slavery. Poor whites weren't any better off, but hey, at least they weren't black. And unfortunately, this strategy has worked for most of American history. Yep.
I don't know why you're putting Trump up there. You really should be putting yourself and the rest of the rich SJWs that are making race relations worse and worse.
Wealthy and accomplished people of color still encounter racism. Just a few years ago, multi-billionaire Oprah Winfrey was in an upscale shop in Switzerland and was told she probably couldn't afford one of the pricey handbags she was looking at. That's because the shop attendant just saw a black woman in the store and not Mother Oprah.
Franchesca, that happened in Switzerland. Do you know where Switzerland is? Historical American racism is not affecting how Swiss people treat black people. If you're going to talk about racism in America, then talk about racism in America! I also love that you pretend that you don't have a lot of money.
The top 0.1% of Americans have as much wealth as the bottom 90% of Americans combined, which doesn't leave much for the rest of us.
Dude, I love how she says the rest of us, as if, yeah, Franchesca, just like all of us, isn't she? Even though according to this article, Franchesca makes 6 figures just off of YouTube, not even counting MTV or her events or VidCon or partnerships. Oh, but I forgot, she's black, so she's gotta be part of the 99%, right?
That clip was from a fellow anti-SJW channel. He did a very good job debunking Franchesca Ramsey. I highly recommend you go check him out. And another YouTuber you should check out is Brad Reed. He did a very good job exposing Franchesca Ramsey for just how much she edits things to make herself look good.
If you're perceptive enough, you'll notice Paul Joseph Watson is the only one whose comment has the amount of upvotes cut off from it. They didn't cut it off from the comments disagreeing with her that didn't get any upvotes. And they didn't cut it off from the comments that agreed with her and did get upvoted. I even checked the original comment and it has over 900 thumbs up. It's almost like they didn't want you to know that people agreed with him. Crazy, right?
And Franchesca Ramsey does shit like this a lot. Every time she talks about someone being privileged, or being an oppressor, or being rich, it's always a white male. And every time she talks about someone being hurt by the system, it's always a non-white guy.
When I criticize the school-to-prison pipeline, lack of police training, workplace discrimination, or our court system, some people don't want to hear it or think about it.
I also love the part where she says, some people just don't want to think about it. And she shows a picture of a white guy covering his ears. Franchesca, people like me are thinking about it. But guess what? We think you're full of shit.
Are you A, mad at the Department of Education for not training teachers better? B, mad at your state congressional representatives for not pushing for bigger education budgets? Or C, mad at me for talking about this because it's easier to direct your anger towards someone making you feel guilty instead of being angry at the complicated as world of institutional racism?
We're mad at you for spreading bullshit information. God, I hate it when people do this. You're mad at me for some bullshit reason that no one would ever be mad over.
Well, Dr. Robin DiAngelo, a white critical racial and social justice scholar, has described the discomfort some white people have towards talking about racism as white fragility. Since white people often grow up in environments where discussing race is seen as taboo, some react defensively when the topic of racism comes up. Dr. DiAngelo says this manifests itself as outward displays of emotions, such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behaviors such as argumentation, silence, and leaving the stress-inducing situation.
Franchesca, you do realize that if a white person doesn't agree with every single thing the far left says, he's going to be labeled a racist, right? Hell, even if a white person does that, they might be labeled as a racist. And by argumentation, do you mean disagreeing with you?
It's also hard to think about these issues on an institutional level, and because talking about racism automatically makes a lot of white people uncomfortable, they sometimes begin to think they're being personally attacked or blamed. Recent studies show that white Americans believe bias against white people is a bigger issue in our country than ever before. This, however, is simply not true.
No, Franchesca, it absolutely is. You can record yourself torturing a white guy, you can say, fuck white people, fuck Trump, and the media will say it wasn't a hate crime.
That's probably not very popular. We cannot callously go about classifying things as a hate crime.
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please, oh my, stop.
Let's not forget about all the BuzzFeed questions for white people videos. If those questions were directed at anybody else, the media would label BuzzFeed as an alt-right organization that is trying to spread racism or something like that.
Statistically, from mortgage lending to police brutality, the reality for white Americans tends to be way more positive than for black Americans and other people of color.
What about Asians? On average, they're doing much better than white people. And also, I love how you're trying to make white people seem like they're all rich while black people are all poor. You're not pointing out race issues. You're pointing out class issues and saying they're race issues.
By refusing to engage with the actual issues, the people who shout the absurd accusation, "You're racist against white people," are really just attempting to shut down the conversation.
Oh, but when your side is calling anyone who disagrees with you a racist, sexist, homophobe, that's okay, and it's not shutting down the conversation.
Imagine if people who think I'm racist against white people found something they enjoyed online instead of watching Decoded every week and complaining in the comments.
Holy shit, I think we just found T-Moss Boss's mom.
If you don't like the video, then don't watch it.
Damn, that explains a lot. But probably her most cringiest video was when she was defending PC culture.
Is PC culture destroying freedom of speech?
Which dated meme should I use? Should I use the one of M. Bison saying, yes, yes? Or should I use the one of M. Bison turning around and saying, of course? Or maybe I should just stop using dated memes, or memes altogether, and actually try to be funny on my own for once. Nah.
Of course!
If you've ever called out racism, sexism, ableism, or any other oppressive-ism, you've probably been accused of being too PC.
No, people get called too PC when they call anyone who disagrees with them a racist, sexist, homophobe. Which is not even being PC, which is why I call them an SJW instead of too PC. Because it's not even political correctness anymore. It's the opposite.
Political correctness is avoiding words or behaviors that—
Oh my god, you just proved that political correctness takes away your freedom of speech. If you have to avoid saying certain things, then that's less freedom.
Exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against. Basically, treating people with respect.
You mean treating people like you with respect. But people who disagree with you, well, they're racist, sexist, you guys get the drill. I've already said this so many times.
Now, if you ask me, that doesn't sound like a bad thing. But a recent poll by Fairleigh Dickinson University found that 68% of Americans and 81% of Republicans agreed that a big problem this country has is being politically correct. Even 62% of Democrats polled agreed that being PC was getting out of hand.
Franchesca, it's not your job to use evidence to debunk your arguments, it's my job.
For these folks, political correctness is synonymous with weakness or being overly sensitive.
And shutting people down, don't forget that.
Similar to the new term social justice warrior, calling someone PC is a way to derail and dismiss conversations about inequality.
No, Franchesca, it's the other way around, and you know it. Before they even say the word, you're too PC or you're a social justice warrior, the other person has already dismissed or derailed the conversation because it hurt their fifis.
Here's the thing, it's not just about hurt feelings, it's about calling out oppressive power structures, and that's where the misunderstanding comes in.
Franchesca, I know you're trying to make a straw man out of us and say that's the reason why we call you social justice warriors. But the thing is, I've seen your like-dislike bar. Not many people are buying into it.
What's perceived as being too sensitive is usually someone speaking out against lazy, offensive language that doesn't usually get challenged. That's because the group of people that those words hurt historically haven't had the opportunities to have their voices heard.
Ah, yes, historical oppression. How do you think your ancestors would feel if they knew you were using them as a shield? Also, I love that you're using a black guy to call out racist bullshit from a white guy. You're about as subtle as a nuclear explosion.
And the people who call that being too PC are often in privileged positions and don't want to or haven't had to think about what they're saying, or the consequences that come with it.
Franchesca, I've seen the income of the people who talk about you, and the income you get. You're way more fucking privileged than them.
You can't take away my freedom of speech just because you're offended. Well, yeah. In America, freedom of speech simply means the government cannot prohibit you from expressing yourself. It's why you can criticize Obama without being thrown in jail.
Okay, this is an argument I hear a lot, and technically Franchesca Ramsey is right. Someone blocking you on Twitter, or not inviting you to their college, or even punching you in the face is not taking away your freedom of speech. Unless, of course, they break your jaw or something. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying any of this is good, and I do think they're total pussies who can't handle an opposing argument, but they're not taking away your freedom of speech. They're just censoring you. However, certain SJWs in places like Canada are taking away freedom of speech. In Canada, by law, you have to call people by their preferred pronouns or you're breaking the law.
But on an interpersonal level, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Technically, no subject on Earth is off limits. You can say whatever you want, but in turn, people are allowed to respond however they want.
Yes, Franchesca, we're aware of that. But you need to understand that it works both ways.
The fact that you can comment means you're not being censored.
Maybe not on your channel, but for other channels, yeah.
In fact, political correctness is expanding free speech. We're adding words to the dictionary every year in an effort to promote more inclusive and respectful speech. Last year alone, the OED added microaggressions, mansplain, and all.
Franchesca, that word is used to silence people. And just because you add more words, it doesn't mean you have more freedom of speech. Just like if new guns were made, it wouldn't loosen the grip of gun control. But despite everything I've said about Franchesca so far, I don't know if it's all her fault. She is an actor, and I'm pretty sure someone else pays her to say these things. While I do think she believes most of the stuff she is saying, I don't know for sure if she believes all of it. I just hope she does what Laci Green did, and just leave her echo chamber just for a little bit to talk to someone on the other side.